"You're not even good enough to sweep the floor." That's what my father-in-law said to me. In front of everyone, in the middle of the warehouse, 23 employees watching. Some looked down, some smirked. A couple looked uncomfortable, but nobody said a word. My name is Spencer Cooper. I'm 32 years old. And this is what really happened. I didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't defend myself. I just stood there holding my badge in my hand. The same badge I'd worn for 4 years. The same badge that got me through the front door every morning at 6:45. The same badge that represented everything I'd built in that company. Elliot, my father-in-law, the owner, crossed his arms and stared at me like I was a stain on his floor. "Pack your things. You're done here." I nodded, walked to my desk, grabbed my thermos, my notebook, my jacket. I clipped the badge off my belt and set it on the desk. Didn't slam it, didn't throw it. Just placed it there, face up, like a card on a poker table. Then I walked out. Nobody followed me. Nobody said goodbye. My wife, Emily, texted me 15 minutes later. What happened? I didn't answer yet. I was already in my truck, hands on the wheel, staring at the road ahead. But here's the thing. Elliot thought he won that day. He had no idea what I'd been doing for the last 8 months. Ever been humiliated by someone who thought they had all the power? Tell me your story. I'm listening. 4 years earlier, I met Emily at a trade conference in Nashville. She was working the booth for her father's company, Cooper Industrial Supply. Ironic, right? My last name would end up on the building eventually. Just not the way anyone expected. Emily was smart, sharp. She didn't do the fake smile thing that most booth workers do. When I asked her about hydraulic fittings, she actually knew the specs, knew the suppliers, knew the margins. We got coffee that night, then dinner the next. 3 months later, I moved from Atlanta to work for her father's company. Elliot needed someone who understood logistics and inventory systems. I had 5 years of experience in supply chain management. It seemed like a good fit. At first it was. Elliot ran the company the old way. Handwritten orders, filing cabinets, a single computer in the office that still ran Windows XP. The warehouse was organized by whatever made sense to him that day. Customers complained about delayed shipments. Invoices got lost. But the company had been around for 30 years, so Elliot figured he was doing something right. I started small, digitized the inventory, set up a cloud-based ordering system, trained the warehouse guys on barcode scanners. Within 6 months, we cut shipping errors by 60%. Customer complaints dropped. Revenue went up 11%. Elliot took credit for all of it. At the quarterly meeting with investors, he stood up and talked about his vision for modernization. Didn't mention my name once. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. She knew. But she also knew her father. Proud, stubborn. The kind of man who'd rather lose money than admit someone else had a better idea. I didn't care about the credit. I cared about the work. I cared about Emily. We got married that fall. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Elliot gave a toast about how he was glad to have a hard worker in the family. He didn't say son-in-law, he said hard worker. That should have been my first warning, but I was optimistic. I thought if I kept proving myself, kept making the company better, he'd eventually see me as more than just some guy who married his daughter. I was wrong. By year 2, I was running most of the operations, hiring decisions, vendor negotiations, financial forecasting. Elliot still signed the checks, still made the big speeches, but the day-to-day, that was me. Emily and I bought a small house 20 minutes from the warehouse. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a garage where I could work on my truck, a backyard for the dog we were planning to get. We talked about kids, about the future, about maybe one day taking over the company together. I remember one night, sitting on the back porch with a beer, Emily next to me with her wine, and she said, "You know my dad's never going to retire, right?" I laughed. "Yeah, I know. But he trusts you," she said. "He wouldn't let just anyone run things the way you do." I nodded, took a sip, watched the sun go down. But trust is a funny word, because around month 30, I started noticing things. Small things at first. Invoices that didn't match the deposits. Vendor payments that were twice what they should have been. A company credit card that Elliot used for personal expenses, dinners, trips, a new set of golf clubs. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I just started keeping copies, printing records, taking photos of documents when I stayed late. Emily asked me once why I was working so much. I told her I was trying to streamline the quarterly reports. She believed me, because it was partly true. But the real reason? I was building a file. By year 3, the company was doing better than ever. We'd expanded into 2 new states, hired 15 more people, Opened a second warehouse in Kentucky. On paper, everything looked great. But behind the scenes, Elliot was bleeding the business dry. He'd taken out 3 loans against the company, used the money for his vacation home in Florida, a boat he never used, a vintage car collection. He figured the revenue would cover it. And for a while it did, but then the loans came due. I saw the letters, I saw the payment schedules, I saw the interest rates, 12, 14, 16%, predatory lenders, the kind that don't care if you go under. They just want their money. Elliot didn't tell anyone. Not the investors, not Emily, not me. He just kept signing checks and hoping it would all work out. That's when I knew. If I didn't do something, this company, the one I'd helped build, was going to collapse. And when it did, Elliot would blame everyone but himself. So I made a decision. I reached out to a lawyer, quietly. A guy I knew from my Atlanta days. I asked him a hypothetical. If a company has outstanding debts and someone buys those debts, what happens? He explained it to me. Simple, clean, legal. If you buy someone's debt, you own the leverage, and if they can't pay, you can foreclose. Take the assets, take the company. I asked him how much it would cost. He said, depends on the debt. But if the company's struggling, you can usually buy it for 50, 60 cents on the dollar. I had savings. Emily and I had been putting money away. Not a lot, but enough. I also had a 401k I could borrow against, and a line of credit I'd never touched. I did the math. It was possible. So I started making calls. I contacted the lenders, told them I was an interested buyer. Didn't mention I worked for the company. Just said I was looking to acquire distressed debt as an investment. They were happy to sell. Most of them had already written Elliot off as a loss. Over the next 8 months, I quietly bought up 70% of the company's debt, paid it off in installments, kept everything under my name, under an LLC I set up in Delaware. Emily knew I was working on a side project. She thought I was consulting. I wasn't lying. I just wasn't telling her everything. Not yet. Because if this went wrong, I didn't want her involved. But if it went right, I'd own the company. And Elliot would have no idea until it was too late. By month 8, I had the leverage. I had the documents. I had the lawyer on retainer. All I needed was a reason. And then, 3 weeks ago, Elliot gave me one. He started making comments, little digs. You're slowing down, Spencer. Maybe you're not cut out for this anymore. I'm thinking about bringing in someone with more experience. Emily told me to ignore it. Said her father was just stressed about money. But I knew what was coming. He was going to fire me, blame me for the financial problems, make me the scapegoat so he could save face. I didn't panic. I didn't argue. I just waited. And then, this morning, it happened. Elliot called me into the warehouse. Everyone was there. Morning shift, office staff, a couple of vendors who'd stopped by. He stood in the middle of the floor, arms crossed, and said, "Spencer, this isn't working out." I stood there, calm, quiet. He continued, "You've been making decisions without consulting me, overstepping. I think it's time we part ways." I nodded, said, "Okay." He looked surprised, like he expected me to beg, to defend myself, but I didn't. And that's when he said it. "You're not even good enough to sweep the floor." 23 people heard it. Some looked away, some smirked. A couple looked uncomfortable. I unclipped my badge, set it on the desk, grabbed my jacket, and I left. Emily called me an hour later, crying. Said her father told her I wasn't a good fit anymore. Said he'd give me 2 weeks severance. I told her it was okay. Told her I'd handle it. She asked me what I was going to do. I said, "Don't worry, I've got a plan." Because tomorrow morning, when Elliot shows up to open the warehouse, there's going to be someone waiting for him. A bailiff, with a court order, and a foreclosure notice. And the name on the paperwork? Spencer Cooper. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments. The first crack didn't happen when Elliot fired me. It happened 2 years earlier on a Tuesday afternoon in July. I was in the back office going through vendor contracts when Elliot walked in. He didn't knock. Never did. He just pushed the door open and stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at me like he was about to ask a favor. "Spencer, I need you to do something for me." I looked up from the spreadsheet. "Sure. What's up?" He sat down across from me, leaned back in the chair. "I need you to sign off on a loan application. For the company. Just a formality. The bank needs a co-signer since I'm using the business assets as collateral." I set my pen down. "How much?" $250,000. I blinked. "That's not a small loan, Elliot. What's it for?" He waved his hand like it was nothing. "Expansion. New equipment. Maybe another warehouse down the line." You know how it is. Gotta spend money to make money. I didn't like it, but I also didn't want to start a fight. So I asked, "Why do you need me to co-sign? You own the company." "Bank policy," he said. "Since you're managing operations, they want someone on the hook who's involved day to day. It's just paperwork, Spencer. Doesn't mean anything." That should have been my red flag. But I was 30 years old, still trying to prove I belonged, still trying to show Elliot I was reliable. So I signed. 3 months later, I found out there was no new equipment, no expansion, no warehouse. Elliot bought a boat, a 42-foot cabin cruiser docked in Destin, Florida. Cost him $190,000, paid cash. Told Emily it was an investment property he could rent out to tourists, but he never rented it. He just took his buddies out fishing twice a year and posted pictures on Facebook. I didn't say anything. I told myself it was his money, his company, his decision. I was just the operations guy. I wasn't family, not really, not in the way that mattered. But that loan had my name on it, and when the payments started coming due, Elliot started missing them. Not all of them, just enough to rack up late fees. Penalty interest, the kind of thing that turns a $250,000 loan into a $320,000 problem. I found out because I started getting calls from the bank. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Then I pulled the loan documents from the filing cabinet, the ones Elliot said were just a formality. Turns out I wasn't a co-signer. I was a joint borrower, which meant if Elliot defaulted, they'd come after me too. I sat in my truck that night, in the driveway of our house, staring at the paperwork. Emily was inside making dinner. I could see her through the kitchen window, laughing at something on her phone. I didn't want to tell her, didn't want to put her in the middle, because no matter what I said, it would sound like I was blaming her father, and she loved him. Complicated, frustrating, stubborn as hell, but she loved him. So I made a decision. I'd handle it quietly. I'd keep an eye on the books, make sure the company stayed profitable, and if things got bad, I'd figure out a way to cover it. That was the first crack. But I didn't realize it yet, because over the next 6 months, Elliot took out 2 more loans, smaller ones, $50,000 here, $75,000 there. Used them to pay off credit cards, to buy a vintage Mustang, to renovate his lake house, and every time, he told the same story. It's for the business, just short term. We'll pay it back in 6 months. But we never did. By the time I was a year into my marriage, the company had over $400,000 in debt, and Elliot was still buying toys. I started staying late at the office, not because I wanted to, because I needed to understand how deep the hole was. I pulled every financial record I could find, loan agreements, credit card statements, vendor invoices, tax filings. I built a spreadsheet that tracked every dollar in and every dollar out. What I found made my stomach turn. Elliot wasn't just bad with money. He was reckless. He'd been using company revenue to fund his lifestyle for years. And because the business had been doing well, especially after I streamlined operations, he thought he could keep doing it forever. But revenue doesn't mean profit, and profit doesn't mean cash flow. We were making more money than ever, but we were also spending more than ever, and the loans were eating us alive. I ran the numbers 3 different ways. No matter how I calculated it, we had maybe 18 months before the company went under, unless someone intervened. I thought about telling Emily, but what would I say? Your father's destroying the company, and if I don't do something, we're all going to lose everything. She'd defend him. She'd say I was exaggerating. She'd ask me to give him time, and time was the one thing we didn't have. So I started making calls. First, I called the bank, asked about refinancing. They laughed, said Elliot's credit was shot, said the only way they'd extend more credit was if someone else took over the loans. Then I called a financial advisor, guy I knew from a seminar in Denver, explained the situation. Hypothetically, of course. He said, if the owner's not willing to change, your best bet is to either walk away or buy him out. Walk away meant losing everything I'd built, losing my reputation, losing my marriage probably. Buy him out meant coming up with $500,000 I didn't have. So I started researching a third option, debt acquisition. It's not something most people know about, but in the business world it's common. When a company can't pay its debts, the lenders sell those debts to investors, usually for 50 or 60 cents on the dollar. The investor takes over the debt, and if the company still can't pay, the investor can foreclose. It's cold, it's calculated, but it's legal, and it was the only way I could see to save the company. So I set up an LLC, registered it in Delaware under a name that had nothing to do with me or the company. Then I started reaching out to Elliot's lenders. Most of them were happy to talk. They knew Elliot was a bad risk. They knew the company was struggling. They were just trying to get whatever they could before it all collapsed. I made my first offer in October. Bought a $75,000 loan for $42,000. Paid it out of my savings and a small loan against my 401k. Elliot never knew, because the lender just transferred the debt to my LLC. As far as he was concerned, he still owed $75,000. He just owed it to someone else. I did it again in December. Bought another loan, $50,000 for $28,000. By February, I owned $125,000 of the company's debt, and I was just getting started. Emily noticed I was stressed, asked me if everything was okay. I told her work was busy, told her I was working on a side project that might pay off down the line. She believed me, because she trusted me, and because she didn't want to think her father's company was in trouble. But I couldn't tell her. Not yet, because if Elliot found out what I was doing, he'd fire me on the spot, and then I'd lose all the leverage I'd been building. So I kept quiet, kept working, kept buying debt. By June, I owned 60% of the company's obligations. By September, it was closer to 75%. I'd spent nearly every dollar I had, borrowed against everything I could, put myself in a position where if this didn't work, I'd be financially ruined. But I also knew that if I didn't act, the company would collapse anyway, and Elliot would take everyone down with him. Me, Emily, the 23 people who worked in that warehouse, so I kept going. And then, 3 weeks ago, Elliot started turning on me. It was subtle at first. Little comments in meetings. Spencer's been making a lot of decisions without running them by me. Or, I'm not sure Spencer's as committed as he used to be. Emily told me not to worry about it. Said her father was just stressed. But I knew what was happening. He was setting me up to be the fall guy. When the company finally went under, he'd blame me. Say I mismanaged operations. Say I made bad calls. And everyone would believe him because he was the owner, the founder, the guy who'd been running the business for 30 years. I wasn't going to let that happen. So when he called me into the warehouse this morning, I already knew what was coming. I just didn't expect him to be so cruel about it. You're not even good enough to sweep the floor. 23 people heard it, and not one of them defended me. I unclipped my badge, set it on the desk, walked out. Emily called me an hour later, crying, asked me what happened. I told her the truth, that her father fired me, that he humiliated me in front of everyone. She said she'd talk to him, said she'd fix it. I told her not to bother, because tomorrow morning everything changes. Tomorrow morning Elliot's going to find out that the company he thought he owned, it's mine now, and the debt he thought he could ignore, it's due. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. I didn't sleep that night. Emily came home around 7. She'd been at her father's house trying to convince him to reconsider. I could hear it in her voice before she even walked through the door. Exhausted, frustrated, defeated. She found me in the garage sitting on an old stool next to my truck holding a beer I hadn't opened. He won't budge, she said. Her eyes were red. I told him he was being unreasonable. I told him you've done more for that company than anyone. He just kept saying it was a business decision. I nodded, didn't say anything. She sat down on the step leading into the house. Spencer, I'm sorry. I know this isn't fair, but maybe it's for the best. You've been so stressed. Maybe this is a chance to do something else. Something that doesn't involve my father. I looked at her. She meant well. She always did. But she didn't understand. It's fine, I said. I'll figure it out. She tilted her head. You're not mad? I'm tired, I said. And that was true. I was tired of pretending. Tired of biting my tongue. Tired of watching Elliot take credit for my work and then throw me away like I was nothing. But I didn't say that. Because Emily didn't need to carry that weight. She came over and kissed the top of my head. We'll be okay. We've got savings. You'll find something better. I nodded again. Let her believe it. Because the truth was, I didn't need to find something better. I already had it. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30. Same time I always did. Muscle memory. 4 years of getting up before dawn, driving to the warehouse, unlocking the gate, turning on the lights. But today, I wasn't going to the warehouse. Today, I was going to the county courthouse. I got dressed, jeans, button-down shirt, work boots, grabbed my folder, thick, organized, every document I needed. Emily was still asleep. I left a note on the counter. Out early. Be back soon. Love you. Then I got in my truck and drove. The courthouse opened at 8. I was there at 7:45, waiting in the parking lot, going over everything one more time. Loan agreements, promissory notes, transfer documents, proof of payment, foreclosure paperwork. My lawyer, David, the guy from Atlanta, had filed everything 2 weeks ago. We'd just been waiting for the right moment. And yesterday, when Elliot fired me, that was the moment. At 8 o'clock, I walked into the courthouse, handed my documents to the clerk. She looked them over, nodded, stamped them. "Foreclosure proceedings for Cooper Industrial Supply," she said. "Effective immediately. Sheriff's office will serve notice this morning." I thanked her, walked back to my truck, sat there for a minute, hands on the wheel. This was it. No going back. I texted David. "It's done." He replied immediately. "Bailiff's en route. Should be there by 9. I checked the time. 8:15. Elliot usually got to the warehouse around 8:30. Unlocked the gate, turned on the lights, made his coffee in the break room while the morning crew rolled in. Today he was going to get a surprise. I didn't go to the warehouse. Not yet. Instead, I drove to a diner about 10 minutes away, ordered coffee and eggs, sat in a booth by the window. My phone rang at 8:53. Emily. I let it ring twice before I answered. "Spencer, what's going on?" Her voice was tight, panicked. "What do you mean?" "There's a bailiff at the warehouse. My dad just called me. He said someone's trying to foreclose on the company. He said—" She stopped, took a breath. "Spencer, do you know anything about this?" I set my fork down. "Yeah, I do." Silence. "Emily, I need you to listen to me. Your father's been running that company into the ground for 2 years. He's taken out loans he can't pay back. He's been using company money for personal expenses. If I hadn't stepped in, the business would have collapsed in 6 months, maybe less." "What are you talking about?" Her voice was shaking now. "What do you mean you stepped in?" "I bought his debt," I said, calm, even. "I've been buying it for the last 8 months. I own 70% of what he owes, and since he can't pay it back, I'm foreclosing." Another silence. Longer this time. "You're taking the company," she said. Not a question, a statement. "I'm saving it," I said. "There's a difference. Spencer, he's my father. I know. He's going to lose everything." "He already lost it," I said. "He just didn't know it yet." I could hear her breathing on the other end. Fast, shallow. "I need you to trust me," I said. "I know this is hard. I know it feels like I'm betraying him. But Emily, he fired me yesterday, in front of everyone. Said I wasn't good enough to sweep the floor. He was going to let me take the fall for his mess, and I wasn't going to let that happen." She didn't respond. "Where are you right now?" I asked. "I'm at the warehouse," she said. "With my dad. Spencer, he's losing it. He's yelling at the bailiff. He's saying this isn't legal. He's saying you tricked him." "I didn't trick him," I said. "I bought his debt. It's all legal. David made sure of that." "David?" she said. "You've been planning this with a lawyer?" "For 8 months," I said. "Yeah," she let out a breath. "I can't believe you didn't tell me." "I couldn't," I said. "If I told you, you would have tried to stop me. Or you would have told your father. And then none of this would have worked. So you just lied to me?" "I didn't lie," I said. "I just didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing, Spencer." I closed my eyes. "I know, and I'm sorry. But I need you to understand. This was the only way. If I didn't do this, we'd both be broke in 6 months. You, me, your father, everyone." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What happens now?" "Now." I took a breath. "Now the company transfers to me. Your father steps down. I take over operations, and I try to save what's left. And my father? He'll be okay," I said. "He's got his house, his cars, his boat. I'm not taking any of that. I'm just taking the business. He's going to hate you. I know. And he's going to hate me too, for staying with you. I know," I said again. "And if you want to leave, if you want to walk away from this from me, I'll understand." Another long silence. Then she said, "I'm not leaving you, Spencer. I'm pissed, I'm hurt, but I'm not leaving you." I felt something loosen in my chest. "Okay, but you owe me the truth from now on," she said. "No more secrets. No more planning things behind my back." "Deal," I said. "And you need to come down here," she said. "Right now. Because my father's about to get himself arrested if someone doesn't calm him down." I stood up, left cash on the table, walked out of the diner. "I'm on my way." By the time I got to the warehouse, there were 3 sheriff's deputies, the bailiff, Elliot, Emily, and about half the morning crew standing around the front gate. Elliot saw me and his face went red. "You," he said, pointed at me. "You did this." I stopped a few feet away, hands in my pockets. Calm. "Yeah," I said. "I did." "You backstabbing son of a—" "Elliot," Emily said, put a hand on his arm. "Stop." He shook her off, took a step toward me. One of the deputies stepped between us. "Sir, you need to calm down." Elliot ignored him, stared at me. "I took you in, gave you a job, let you marry my daughter, and this is how you repay me?" "You didn't give me anything," I said. My voice was steady, cold. "I earned everything I got. I saved this company, and you thanked me by taking credit, lying to lenders, and then firing me in front of everyone. I fired you because you were a liability. I was the only reason you weren't bankrupt a year ago," I said, "and you know it." The bailiff stepped forward, cleared his throat. "Mr. Donovan, I need you to step aside. This property is now under foreclosure proceedings. The new owner is Mr. Spencer Cooper. If you refuse to vacate, you'll be arrested for trespassing." Elliot's jaw clenched. He looked at Emily. "You're really going to let him do this?" She looked at him, then at me, then back at him. "Dad," she said quietly, "you should have paid your debts." His face fell, like she'd just slapped him. He turned, walked to his truck, slammed the door, drove off without another word. The crew stood there, silent, watching. I looked at the bailiff. "I'm good to go in?" He nodded, handed me a document. "Property's yours. Congratulations." I took it, folded it, put it in my jacket. Then I walked to the gate, pulled out my keys, unlocked it. And for the first time in 4 years, I walked into that warehouse as the owner. Emily stayed behind, talked to the deputies. I didn't look back, because I had work to do. The warehouse was quiet when I walked in, too quiet. The morning crew, 7 guys who'd been there since 6, stood near their workstations watching me. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. They just stared like they were trying to figure out what had just happened. I didn't blame them. 10 minutes ago, Elliot was the boss. Now he was gone, and I was standing in his place. I walked to the center of the floor, looked at each of them. "Morning," I said. A couple of them nodded. One guy, Marcus, been there 9 years, crossed his arms. "So what now, Spencer? You the boss now?" "Yeah," I said. "I am. And we're supposed to just keep working? Like nothing happened?" "That's the idea," I said. "Unless you've got a better plan." He didn't say anything, just shook his head and went back to his station. The others followed, slowly, reluctantly, but they went. I stood there for a minute watching them. Then I walked to the office, Elliot's office, and opened the door. It looked the same as it always did. Messy desk, papers everywhere, coffee mug with a ring stain, a picture of Emily from her college graduation on the shelf, a calendar from 2 years ago still hanging on the wall. I sat down in the chair, Elliot's chair. It creaked under my weight, and for the first time in 4 years, I let myself breathe. The first thing I did was call the bank. The same bank that held the original $250,000 loan, the one with my name on it. I got transferred 3 times before I reached someone who actually knew what was going on. "Mr. Cooper," the woman said, professional, detached. "I see you filed foreclosure proceedings on Cooper Industrial Supply. Is that correct?" "Yeah," I said. "I own the majority of the debt. I'm taking over operations." "Understood. And the outstanding balance on the original loan, $250,000 plus accumulated interest, are you planning to settle that as well?" "I'll need a payment plan," I said. "But yeah, I'll settle it." She paused, typed something. "We can work with that. I'll send over the paperwork." "Good," I said. "And one more thing. I want Elliot Donovan's name removed from all accounts. He's no longer affiliated with the business." Another pause, longer this time. "That will require his signature," she said. "He'll sign," I said. "Trust me." She didn't sound convinced, but she said she'd send the forms. I hung up, leaned back in the chair, stared at the ceiling. This was real. I owned the company. I owned the debt. I owned the responsibility, and I had no idea if I could actually pull this off. Emily came by around noon. She knocked on the office door even though it was open. "Hey," she said. "Hey." She stepped inside, looked around. "Weird seeing you in here." "Yeah." She sat down in the chair across from the desk, the same chair I'd sat in 100 times when Elliot called me in for meetings. "How's your dad?" I asked. She shrugged. "He's at home. Hasn't said a word since he left. My mom's freaking out. She keeps asking me what happened. I don't even know what to tell her." "Tell her the truth," I said. "Her husband ran the company into the ground and I had to step in. She's not going to see it that way, Spencer. None of them are." "I know." She looked at me. "Do you?" I didn't answer. She sighed, leaned forward. "Look, I'm trying to understand this. I really am. But you have to help me. You kept this from me for 8 months. You made decisions that affect both of us without telling me. And now my entire family thinks you're a snake. I'm not a snake, I said. I'm a survivor. Is there a difference? Yeah, I said. A snake strikes first. I waited until I had no other choice. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue either. What happens now? She asked. Now I run the company, I said. I pay down the debt. I keep everyone employed, and I try to make this thing work. And my dad? What about him? Spencer. He's 63 years old. This company was his life. You just took it from him. He gave it away, I said. Every time he took out a loan he couldn't pay. Every time he used company money to buy toys. He gave it away piece by piece. I just put it back together. She stared at me. You sound so cold. I'm practical, I said. There's a difference. She stood up. I need some time to process this. Okay. She walked to the door, stopped, turned around. Do you regret it? Regret what? Any of it. Marrying me. Working here. Taking the company. I looked at her. No, I don't. She nodded. Good, because I don't either. Then she left. By 3 o'clock, I'd gone through every file in Elliot's office, every contract, every invoice, every bank statement, and what I found was worse than I thought. The $400,000 in loans I already knew about, that was just the tip of the iceberg. There were vendor debts, suppliers who hadn't been paid in 6 months. Some of them had stopped shipping to us entirely, which explained why inventory had been so tight lately. There were payroll issues, taxes that hadn't been filed, workers' comp premiums that were 3 months overdue. There were lease agreements Elliot had signed without telling anyone, equipment rentals, storage units, even a second office space he'd never used but was still paying for. I added it all up, twice, just to make sure I wasn't miscounting. Total debt, $732,000. I sat back, rubbed my eyes. This wasn't just a struggling company. This was a disaster waiting to collapse, and I'd just put myself in charge of it. I called David, my lawyer, the guy who'd helped me set this whole thing up. Spencer, he said, congrats on the acquisition. How's it feel to be a business owner? Like I'm drowning, I said. He laughed. That's normal. What's going on? The debt's worse than I thought. A lot worse. I need to know what my options are. How much worse? $732,000. He whistled. Okay, that's a lot. But it's not insurmountable. You've got assets, right? Inventory, equipment, real estate? Yeah. The warehouse is owned outright. Equipment's worth maybe $200,000. Inventory's another $150,000. So you've got collateral, he said. That's good. You can refinance, consolidate the debts, negotiate payment plans with the vendors. And if they don't negotiate, then you file Chapter 11. Restructure. Keep operating while you work things out. I don't want to file bankruptcy, I said. That'll kill the business. Not necessarily, he said, but it's a last resort. For now, focus on cash flow, cut costs, prioritize the debts, and don't panic. Easy for you to say. He laughed again. You'll be fine, Spencer. You're smart, you're careful, and you've got the one thing Elliot didn't. Discipline. I wasn't so sure, but I thanked him and hung up. That night, I stayed at the warehouse until 10, went through every file again, made spreadsheets, built a plan. By the time I left, I had a rough outline. Week 1, meet with every vendor, negotiate payment plans. Week 2, refinance the major loans, consolidate where possible. Week 3, cut unnecessary expenses, cancel leases, sell off unused equipment. Week 4, stabilize cash flow, make sure payroll's covered. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. I got home around 10:30. Emily was on the couch watching TV with the sound off. You're late, she said. Yeah, sorry, got caught up. She nodded, didn't look at me. My dad called, asked if I was still living with you. What did you say? I said yes. And he hung up. I sat down next to her. I'm sorry, Em. Don't, she said. Don't apologize. You did what you had to do. I get that. I wish it didn't have to be like this. Me too. She leaned against me. I put my arm around her. Is it going to work? She asked. The company, can you actually save it? I don't know, I said, but I'm going to try. She didn't say anything, just closed her eyes. And for a minute, we just sat there, in the quiet, in the mess, together. The next morning, I got to the warehouse at 6, same time as always. The crew was already there. Marcus looked at me when I walked in. You're here early, he said. Yeah, lot of work to do. He nodded. Fair enough. I walked to the office, turned on the computer, Pulled up the vendor list. 43 names. 43 companies we owed money to. I started at the top. Made the first call. Hi, this is Spencer Cooper. I'm the new owner of Cooper Industrial Supply. I'm calling to discuss our outstanding balance and work out a payment plan. The guy on the other end didn't sound thrilled, but he listened. By the end of the day, I'd called 20 vendors. 15 of them were willing to negotiate. 5 of them said they'd only accept payment in full. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. That night, I got home and found a folder on the kitchen table. Emily was sitting at the counter, drinking tea. "What's this?" I asked. "Documents my dad left for you," she said. "Said you'd need them if you're serious about running the company." I opened the folder. Inside were old contracts, partnership agreements, insurance policies, stuff I'd never seen before. Did he say anything else? Just that you better not screw it up. I looked at her. That it? That's it. I flipped through the documents. Some of them were useful. Some of them were just old paperwork Elliot never threw away. But at the bottom of the stack, I found something that made me stop. A handwritten ledger. Dates, amounts, payments. It was a record of every personal expense Elliot had charged to the company over the last 5 years. Trips, dinners, golf memberships, boat payments, car repairs. Over $300,000. All of it company money. All of it hidden. I stared at it. Read it again, just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. I said. "Did you look at this?" "No." "Why?" I handed her the ledger. She read it. Her face went pale. "Is this real?" "Yeah," I said. "It's real." She set it down, put her hand over her mouth. "He stole from his own company," she said. "For years." "Yeah." She looked at me. "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer. Not yet. Because I didn't know. But I knew one thing. Elliot didn't just lose his company because of bad luck or bad management. He lost it because he was a thief. And that changed everything. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with Elliot's handwritten ledger spread out in front of me. 300 pages, 5 years of theft. Every entry written in his own hand. Dates, amounts, what he spent it on. February 12th, 2019, $4,200. Boat maintenance, March 3rd, 2019, $1,800. Golf club membership, April 15th, 2019, $6,500. Weekend trip to Vegas. May 22nd, 2019, $3,300. New home theater system, on and on. Page after page, year after year. Emily had gone to bed around midnight. She couldn't look at it anymore. Couldn't process what her father had done. But I couldn't stop reading, because every entry was proof. Not just of financial mismanagement. Not just of bad decisions. Proof of intentional, deliberate theft. Elliot knew exactly what he was doing. He kept a record of it. Probably thought he'd need it for taxes or something. Never imagined someone would use it against him. By 3 in the morning, I'd photographed every page, uploaded them to a cloud drive, sent copies to David, my lawyer. Then I made coffee and started building a timeline. The first stolen expense was from January 2018, 6 months before I even met Emily. A $5,000 consulting fee that went straight into Elliot's personal account. No consultant, no invoice, just a wire transfer from the company to his checking account. After that, it escalated. By 2019, he was pulling $8,000 to $10,000 a month, called it owner's draw in the ledger. But a legitimate owner's draw gets reported, gets taxed, gets documented properly. This wasn't documented. It was hidden, buried in operating expenses so the accountant wouldn't catch it. By 2020, he was taking $15,000 a month, sometimes more. And by the time I joined the company in 2021, he was pulling $25,000 a month in expenses. $300,000 a year. Straight out of the business, straight into his pocket. I sat back in my chair, stared at the numbers. No wonder the company was drowning. Elliot wasn't just bad with money, he was robbing his own business, and he'd been doing it for years. At 6 in the morning, my phone rang. "David, you weren't kidding," he said. "This is a smoking gun." "Yeah." "Spencer, do you understand what this means? This isn't just debt mismanagement. This is embezzlement, fraud. If you wanted to, you could press charges." I didn't say anything. "Are you planning to?" he asked. "I don't know yet." "Well, you should think about it, because this changes everything. If you have proof he stole from the company, you could sue him personally, recover some of that money, maybe even go after his personal assets. His house, his cars, all of it," David said. "If you can prove he used stolen funds to buy them." I rubbed my face. Emily would never forgive me. Maybe not. But this isn't about Emily. This is about justice and protecting the company. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long, he said. The longer you wait, the harder it gets to prove. And if Elliot figures out you have this ledger, he'll destroy every other piece of evidence he can find. Understood. He paused. Spencer, I know this is personal, but you need to separate your emotions from the business. You did what you had to do to save the company. Now you need to decide if you're going to let him get away with what he did. I thanked him and hung up. Emily came downstairs around 7, found me still at the table, staring at the ledger. Did you sleep? She asked. No. She poured herself coffee, sat down across from me. What are you going to do? I don't know. Spencer, he's my father. I know. If you go after him, if you press charges or sue him, it'll destroy him, and it'll destroy my family. He destroyed the company, I said. He stole $300,000 over 5 years. That's not a mistake. That's not bad judgment. That's theft. She looked down at her coffee. I know. And if I don't do something, he's going to get away with it. He'll tell everyone I'm the bad guy, that I stole his company, that I ruined his life, and people will believe him. So what, you're going to ruin his life first? I'm going to tell the truth, I said. There's a difference. She didn't respond. Just sat there staring at her cup. I'm not trying to hurt him, Em. I'm trying to protect what's left. The company, the employees, us. And my dad? She asked. What about him? What about him? Does he just lose everything? He already lost the company, I said. The question is whether he loses more than that. She stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the yard. I can't tell you what to do, she said quietly. But whatever you decide, I need you to be sure. Because once you do this, there's no going back. I know. She turned around, looked at me. And I need you to promise me something. What? That you're doing this for the right reasons. Not because you're angry, not because you want revenge, but because it's the right thing to do. I looked at her. I promise. She nodded. Okay. Then she left. I got to the warehouse at 8. The crew was already there, unloading a shipment. Marcus saw me and waved. Morning, boss. I nodded. Walked into the office, sat down at the desk, pulled up my email, started drafting a message to the company's accountant. Subject: Financial audit request. Hi, Karen. I need you to conduct a full audit of the company's financial records from 2018 to present. I've discovered some discrepancies in the books, and I need a clear picture of where we stand. Please prioritize any entries listed as owner's draw, consulting fees, or miscellaneous expenses. Let me know when you can start. Thanks, Spencer. I hit send. Then I opened a new email. This one to David. Subject: Next steps. I want to move forward with recovering the stolen funds. Let me know what you need from me. Spencer. I hit send on that one too. Then I sat back, took a breath. This was it. The point of no return. Elliot had spent 5 years stealing from his own company, and now he was going to pay for it. Karen, the accountant, called me that afternoon. Spencer, I got your email. I have to say, I'm a little concerned. What kind of discrepancies are we talking about? Unauthorized withdrawals, I said. Personal expenses charged to the company. I need you to go through every transaction and flag anything that looks questionable. She was quiet for a moment. Spencer, are you saying Elliot was stealing? I'm saying I found a ledger that suggests he was using company funds for personal expenses. I need you to verify it. Another pause. Okay, I can do that. But it's going to take time. We're talking 5 years of records. I know. Just do your best. And Karen, keep this between us. Don't mention it to anyone. Not the staff. Not Elliot. No one. Understood. I hung up. Then I opened my desk drawer. Pulled out the badge I'd set down the day Elliot fired me. It was still there, right where I'd left it. Company logo on the front, my name printed underneath. I clipped it to my belt, not because I needed it, but because it reminded me why I was doing this. That evening, I got a text from Emily. My dad wants to talk to you. I stared at the message, didn't respond right away. She sent another text. He says he has something to say, face to face. I typed back, when? Tomorrow, noon, at the house. Okay. I set my phone down, leaned back in my chair. This was going to be interesting. The next day, I drove to Elliot's house. Big colonial on 2 acres, pool in the back, 3-car garage, the kind of place you buy when you've got money to burn, or steal. I parked in the driveway, walked to the front door, knocked. Elliot answered. He looked older than I remembered, tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Spencer, he said. Elliot. He stepped aside. Come in. I followed him into the living room. He sat down in his usual chair. I stayed standing. You want something to drink? He asked. No. He nodded. Fair enough. We stood there for a moment, silent. Then he said, I know why you're here. Do you? You found the ledger. I didn't react, just stared at him. Emily told me, he said. Said you've been going through my files. Said you're planning to come after me. Should I? He looked down. I don't know. Maybe. I crossed my arms. That's it? That's all you've got to say? He rubbed his face. What do you want me to say, Spencer? That I'm sorry? That I screwed up? I did. I know I did. You didn't screw up, I said. You stole. For 5 years. $300,000. From your own company. I know. And you were going to let it collapse. Let everyone lose their jobs. Let me take the blame. He looked up at me. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Then what were you trying to do? He didn't answer. I took a step closer. You fired me. In front of everyone. Told me I wasn't good enough to sweep the floor. You humiliated me. And the whole time, you were the one robbing the company blind. I know, he said again. Quieter this time. So why? I asked. Why did you do it? He looked away. Because I could. Because I built that company. Because I thought I deserved it. You didn't build it alone, I said. You had employees. You had customers. You had me. And you threw it all away. He didn't respond. I stood there for a moment. Then I said, I'm moving forward with the audit. Karen's going through every transaction. And when she's done, I'm going to recover every dollar you stole. He looked at me. And if I can't pay it back, then I'll take your house, your cars, your boat, whatever it takes. His jaw tightened. You'd really do that? Watch me. He stood up. You know what, Spencer? You think you're better than me? You think you're some kind of hero, but you're not. You're just a kid who got lucky, who married my daughter and got his hands on my company. Your company? I said. You lost your company the day you decided to steal from it. I built that business from nothing, and I saved it from collapsing, I said, because you were too busy buying toys to actually run it. He stepped toward me. Get out of my house. Gladly. I turned, walked to the door. Before I left, I stopped, looked back. One more thing, Elliot. That badge you made me turn in, the one you said I didn't deserve, I pulled it out of my pocket, held it up. I'm wearing it again, because I earned it, not you. Then I walked out. I got in my truck, sat there for a minute, hands on the wheel. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. How'd it go? I typed back, about as well as you'd expect. She sent back, I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Just started the truck and drove back to the warehouse, because I had work to do. And for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly what needed to be done. 3 days later, Karen sent me the audit report. I was in the office when the email came through. Subject line, financial audit, completed. I opened it, scanned the executive summary. Total unauthorized withdrawals, $287,340 period, January 2018, September 2024. Classification, personal expenses misrepresented as business costs. Recommendation, immediate legal action to recover funds. I scrolled down. She'd broken it down by category. Travel and entertainment, $94,200 vehicle expenses, personal. $50,800 home improvements, $38,600 recreational purchases, $67,400 miscellaneous personal expenses, $34,340 every transaction documented. Every receipt cross-referenced, every lie exposed. I forwarded it to David with a single line. Move forward. He called me 10 minutes later. This is airtight, he said. We can file a civil suit, demand full repayment, and if he doesn't comply, we go after his assets. Do it, I said. Spencer, you need to understand. This is going to get ugly. Elliot's going to fight back. He's going to make this personal. It's already personal, I said. He made it personal when he fired me in front of everyone. Fair enough. I'll draft the complaint. Should be ready to file by Friday. Good. I hung up. Sat there for a moment, staring at the numbers on the screen. $287,000. That was almost half the company's total debt. If I could recover even a fraction of it, I could stabilize the business, pay off vendors, keep everyone employed. This wasn't revenge. This was survival. Emily found out that night. I got home around 8. She was in the kitchen making dinner. Pasta. Something simple. She didn't look at me when I walked in. My mom called, she said. Her voice was flat, controlled. Okay? She said my dad got served with a lawsuit. Today. At the house. I set my keys on the counter. Yeah, I filed it this morning. She turned around. You didn't tell me. I told you I was moving forward. You said you were thinking about it. I was. And then I decided. She stared at me. Spencer, you sued my father. I sued a thief, I said. There's a difference. Not to me, there isn't. I took a breath. He stole almost $300,000 from the company. Karen confirmed it. The audit's done. It's all documented. If I don't recover that money, the business goes under. And if you do recover it, my father loses everything. He should have thought about that before he robbed his own company. She turned back to the stove, stirred the pasta, hard, like she was trying to break it. My mom's devastated, she said. She had no idea. She thought they were fine, thought the business was doing well. Now she's finding out that her husband's been lying to her for years, that he's about to lose the house, the cars, everything. That's not my fault, I said. Isn't it? She turned around again. You could have just taken the company. You could have left it at that. But you had to go after him. You had to take everything. I'm not taking anything he didn't steal first. You're destroying my family, Spencer. He destroyed it, I said. I'm just cleaning up the mess. She slammed the spoon down on the counter. Stop acting like you're some kind of hero. You're not. You're just as ruthless as he is. I didn't say anything. Just stood there. Let her get it out. You know what the worst part is? She said. Her voice was shaking now. I defended you. When he fired you. When he said you weren't good enough. I took your side. I told him he was wrong. And now you're proving him right. How? Because you're not doing this for the company, she said. You're doing it because you're angry. Because you want to punish him. And you're using the business as an excuse. That's not true, isn't it? I looked at her. Do you really think I wanted this? That I wanted to sue your father? That I wanted to blow up your family? I don't know what you want anymore, Spencer. I thought I did, but I don't. She grabbed her jacket, walked toward the door. Where are you going? I asked. My parents' house. My mom needs me. Emily, don't, she said. Just don't. She left, slammed the door behind her, and I stood there, alone, in the kitchen, staring at the half-cooked pasta on the stove. The next morning I got a call from Marcus. Spencer, we got a problem. What kind of problem? Elliot's here, at the warehouse. He's trying to get inside. I checked the time. 7:15. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I grabbed my jacket, drove to the warehouse, fast. When I pulled into the lot, I saw Elliot's truck parked by the gate. He was standing outside, arguing with Marcus and 2 other crew members. I parked, got out, walked over. Elliot, I said, what are you doing here? He turned. His face was red, veins bulging in his neck. You had me served. Yeah, I did. You sued me for almost $300,000. Yep. You son of a... Careful, I said. We've got witnesses. He took a step toward me. Marcus stepped between us. Mr. Donovan, you need to leave. You don't work here anymore. Elliot shoved him. Get out of my way. This is my company. It's not, I said. It's mine, and you're trespassing. Trespassing? He laughed, bitter, angry. I built this place. I spent 30 years building this company. And you think you can just take it? I didn't take it, I said. You lost it, because you couldn't stop stealing. I didn't steal anything. You stole $287,000, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Karen audited the books. It's all documented. Every transaction, every lie. The crew went quiet, watching, listening. Elliot's face went pale. You told them, he said. They have a right to know, I said. They work here. They deserve to know why the company almost went under. You bastard, he said. You're trying to destroy me. I'm trying to save the company you almost killed. He lunged at me. Marcus and another guy grabbed him, held him back. Let me go, Elliot shouted. Let me... Elliot. I stepped closer, close enough that only he could hear me. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the cops, and then I'm filing a restraining order, and then I'm adding harassment to the lawsuit. Is that what you want? He stared at me, breathing hard, eyes full of hate. Then he shook them off, walked back to his truck. Before he got in, he turned around. You haven't won, Spencer. This isn't over. Yeah, I said. It is. He got in his truck, slammed the door, drove off. The crew stood there, silent. I looked at them. Anyone else have questions about what happened? Nobody said anything. Good. Get back to work. They dispersed, slowly, still processing what they'd just seen. Marcus stayed behind. You all right, boss? Yeah, I said. I'm fine. He nodded. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Elliot was always a little too flashy, always spending money we didn't have. I just didn't know it was that bad. Nobody did, I said. That's how he got away with it. Marcus walked back to the warehouse. I stood there for a minute, watching the empty lot where Elliot's truck had been. Then I went inside. Emily didn't come home that night, or the next night. On the third day, she texted me. I'm staying at my parents' for a while. I need space to figure things out. I didn't respond right away. Didn't know what to say. Finally, I typed back, okay, let me know if you need anything. She didn't reply. David called me on Friday. Elliot's lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate. What kind of negotiation? They're offering a settlement, $50,000, paid over 12 months. In exchange, you drop the lawsuit. I laughed. 50,000? He stole almost 300. I know. I told them it wasn't acceptable. They said that's all he can afford. Said if you push for more, he'll have to file bankruptcy. Let him. Spencer, I'm serious, David. Let him file bankruptcy. Let him lose the house, the cars, the boat, all of it, because that's what happens when you steal from your own company. David was quiet for a moment. You sure about this? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, I'll tell them we're moving forward. He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone. Part of me wondered if I was going too far, if I was letting anger drive my decisions. But then I thought about the day Elliot fired me, the way he looked at me, the way he said I wasn't good enough to sweep the floor. And I knew I wasn't going too far. I was going exactly far enough. That weekend, I got a call from Emily's mom, Helen. Spencer, it's Helen. Hi. I need to talk to you. Can we meet? I hesitated. Sure. When? Tomorrow. Lunch, just you and me. Okay. She gave me the name of a diner. Said she'd be there at noon. I showed up 5 minutes early. She was already there, sitting in a booth by the window. I slid in across from her. Thanks for coming, she said. Of course. She looked older than I remembered. Tired. Like she'd aged 10 years in the last 2 weeks. I'm not here to yell at you, she said, or to defend Elliot. I just want to understand. Understand what? Why you're doing this. Why you can't just take the company and move on. Why you have to destroy him. I looked at her. Helen, he stole almost $300,000 from his own business over 5 years. That's not a mistake. That's not bad judgment. That's theft. I know, she said, quiet. I saw the audit. Elliot showed it to me. And I'm furious. I'm humiliated. I had no idea. I thought we were fine. I thought the business was doing well. And now I'm finding out that my husband's been lying to me for years. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. She shook her head. Don't apologize. This isn't your fault. It's his. But Spencer, if you go through with this lawsuit, if you take everything, he won't survive it. He'll survive. No, she said. He won't. He's 63 years old. He's got no savings, no backup plan. If he loses the house, we'll have nothing. We'll be starting over at an age when most people are planning retirement. I didn't say anything. I know he deserves it, she said. I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm just asking you to show mercy. For Emily's sake. For mine. Mercy? I said. He didn't show me any mercy when he fired me. When he humiliated me in front of everyone. When he tried to blame me for his mistakes. I know, she said. And I'm not defending that. But 2 wrongs don't make a right, Spencer. I looked down at my coffee. I'm not trying to destroy him, Helen. I'm just trying to make things right. By taking everything he has. By recovering what he stole. She reached across the table. Put her hand on mine. Please, I'm begging you, don't do this. Find another way. For Emily. I pulled my hand back. I can't. She stared at me. You mean you won't? No, I said. I mean I can't. If I don't recover that money, the company goes under, and 23 people lose their jobs. I can't let that happen just to protect Elliot. She leaned back. So that's it? You're really going through with this? Yeah, I am. She nodded. Stood up. Then I hope it's worth it, Spencer. I really do. She left. I sat there for a while, staring at my untouched coffee. Then I got up, paid the check, walked out. That night, Emily finally called. Hey, she said. Hey, my mom told me you two met. Yeah. She said you're not backing down. I'm not. She was quiet for a moment. Spencer, I don't know if I can do this. Do what? Be married to you. Be part of this. Watch you destroy my family. My chest tightened. Emily, I love you, she said. But I can't watch you do this. I can't choose between you and them. It's not fair. Life's not fair, I said. Your father taught me that. Don't, she said. Don't make this about him. This is about us, about what kind of person you want to be. I know what kind of person I am, I said. I'm the kind of person who doesn't let thieves get away with it, even if it costs you everything. I didn't answer. I need time, she said. I need to figure out if I can live with the man you've become. And if you can't? She didn't respond, just hung up. I sat there, alone, in the dark. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I wondered if I'd made a mistake. Not about the lawsuit, not about the company, but about how much I was willing to lose to win. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. I didn't chase Emily, didn't call, didn't text. If she needed space, I'd give her space. But I wasn't going to stop what I'd started. The next week, I focused on the company, only the company, because that was the one thing I could control. I met with every vendor we owed money to, negotiated payment plans, cut deals. Some of them were understanding, some of them weren't. But by the end of the week, I'd restructured 70% of the debt. I refinanced the major loans, consolidated them into one payment, lower interest, longer term. It wasn't perfect, but it was manageable. I cut expenses, canceled the leases Elliot had signed on equipment we didn't need, sold off inventory that wasn't moving, trimmed the budget down to essentials, and slowly, very slowly, the company started stabilizing. Cash flow improved. Payroll was covered. Orders were going out on time. For the first time in months, I could see a path forward, but it came at a cost. David called me on Tuesday. Elliot's lawyer filed a motion to dismiss, says the lawsuit's frivolous, that you're abusing your position as owner to harass a former employee. I almost laughed. Former employee? He was the owner. I know, it's a weak argument, but they're trying to delay, drag this out, make it expensive for you to keep fighting. How long can they delay? Depends. Could be a few weeks, could be a few months. But Spencer, I need you to be prepared. This is going to cost you. Legal fees, court costs. If this goes to trial, you're looking at $50,000, $60,000. Maybe more. I rubbed my eyes. I don't have that kind of money. Then you need to decide if it's worth it. Because Elliot knows you're stretched thin. He's betting you'll back down. I'm not backing down. Then you need to find a way to pay for it. I hung up, sat there, thinking. $50,000. That was a year of profit. Maybe more. And I'd already sunk everything I had into buying the debt and stabilizing the company. But if I didn't see this through, Elliot would get away with it. And everything I'd done would be for nothing. So I made a decision. I called the bank, asked about a business line of credit. They said they'd need collateral. I offered the warehouse. They approved me for $60,000. It was a risk, a big one. If the company didn't stay profitable, I could lose everything. But I didn't have a choice. That night, I got a text from Emily. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a minute, then typed back, yeah. When? Tomorrow. Lunch. Our place. By our place, she meant the diner where we'd had our first date. The one in Nashville where she'd told me about hydraulic fittings, and I'd realized she was different from anyone I'd ever met. I texted back, I'll be there. The next day I drove 2 hours to Nashville, got to the diner at noon. Emily was already there, sitting in the same booth we'd sat in 4 years ago. I slid in across from her. Hey, I said. Hey. She looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping. Her eyes were red, puffy. How are you? I asked. I've been better. She tried to smile. Didn't quite make it. How's the company? Stable, for now. She nodded. That's good. We sat there for a moment, not saying anything. Then she said, I've been staying with my parents, helping my mom. She's not doing well. I'm sorry. My dad's not doing well either. He's barely eating, barely sleeping, just sits in his office all day, staring at the wall. I didn't respond, didn't know what to say. Spencer, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Do you regret it? Any of it? I looked at her. No. She nodded, like she'd expected that answer. Why not? Because he was wrong, I said, and someone had to hold him accountable. Even if it destroys him? He destroyed himself, I said. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. She looked down. I used to think you were the kindest person I'd ever met. You were patient. You were thoughtful. You never raised your voice, never lost your temper. And now what? And now I don't recognize you. That hit harder than I expected. Emily, I'm still the same person. No, she said. You're not. The Spencer I married would have found another way, would have tried to fix things without hurting people. I tried, I said. For 2 years I tried. I covered for your father. I fixed his mistakes. I kept the company running while he bled it dry. And he thanked me by firing me in front of everyone. So this is revenge. This is justice. What's the difference? I leaned forward. Revenge is hurting someone because they hurt you. Justice is holding them accountable for what they did wrong. And where does mercy fit into that? Mercy? I shook my head. Mercy is for people who admit what they did, who apologize, who try to make it right. Your father did none of those things. He lied. He blamed me. He tried to make me the villain. She didn't say anything. Emily, I love you. I've loved you since the day I met you. But I can't let that stop me from doing what's right, even if it costs you our marriage. I looked at her. Is that what this is? You asking for a divorce? She didn't answer right away, just stared at her hands. Then she said, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I can live with this, with what you've become. I haven't become anything, I said. I've always been this person. You just never saw it because I never had a reason to fight back. Maybe that's what scares me, she said, that this was always inside you. This coldness, this willingness to destroy someone if they cross you. I'm not destroying him, I said. I'm recovering what he stole. There's a difference. Not to him there isn't. Not to my family. I sat back. So, what do you want me to do, Em? Drop the lawsuit? Let him keep the money? Pretend none of this happened? I want you to find a middle ground. I want you to be the man I married, the one who solves problems without burning everything down. There is no middle ground, I said. Not with this. Either I recover the money and save the company, or I let him get away with it and we all go under. She looked at me. Then I guess you've made your choice. So have you. She stood up. I need more time, Spencer. I need to figure out if I can be with someone who's willing to sacrifice everything, including us, for a principle. It's not just a principle, I said. It's the right thing to do. Maybe, she said. But doing the right thing doesn't always mean doing the kind thing, and I need someone who knows the difference. She walked out. I sat there, alone, again, staring at the table where we'd had our first date, and wondering if I'd just lost the only person who ever really mattered. I drove back to the warehouse, got there around 3. Marcus was in the break room, drinking coffee. Boss, he said, you all right? You look like hell. I'm fine. He didn't look convinced. You sure? Because if you need to talk. I'm fine, Marcus. Thanks. He nodded. All right. Well, if you change your mind, I'm here. I walked into the office, closed the door, sat down at the desk, pulled out my phone, opened my photos, scrolled back to 4 years ago. There was a picture of Emily and me at the trade conference in Nashville, both of us smiling, happy, young. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put the phone away, opened my laptop, got back to work, because work was the only thing that made sense anymore. Over the next 2 weeks, I threw myself into the company, 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. I met with new clients, expanded our product line, hired 2 more warehouse guys to handle the increased volume. Revenue went up, expenses went down. The balance sheet started looking healthy. David called me every few days with updates on the lawsuit. Elliot's lawyer was still trying to delay, filing motions, requesting extensions. But we were pushing forward. The trial date was set for 6 weeks out, and I was ready. One night, I was at the warehouse late, around 10, going through invoices when I heard a knock on the office door. I looked up. It was Marcus. Sorry to bother you, boss, but there's someone here to see you. Who? Your wife. My chest tightened. Emily? Yeah, she's out front. I stood up, walked to the front of the warehouse. Emily was standing by the gate, arms crossed, looking at the building. Hey, I said. She turned. Hey, what are you doing here? I wanted to see it. The warehouse, the company, what you've been fighting for. I nodded. You want to come in? Sure. I unlocked the gate, led her inside. She walked through the warehouse slowly, looking at the equipment, the inventory, the organized shelves, the clean floors. It looks different, she said. Yeah, I've been making changes. She nodded, stopped in the middle of the floor. My dad used to bring me here when I was a kid. I'd sit in his office and do my homework while he worked. I thought this place was magic. It's just a warehouse, I said. No, she said. It's more than that. It's what he built, what he was proud of. And now it's yours. Yeah, she looked at me. Do you feel good about that? I feel like I saved it, I said. That's enough. She walked over to the office, stood in the doorway. This is where he fired you, isn't it? No, that was out there, on the floor, in front of everyone. She nodded. I'm sorry he did that. Me too. She turned to me. Spencer, I've been thinking. A lot. About us. About what you did. About whether I can accept it. And I still don't know. But I do know one thing. What's that? You were right. About my dad. About the company. About holding him accountable. I didn't want to admit it. But you were right. I didn't say anything. But that doesn't mean I agree with how you did it. You could have been kinder. You could have given him a way out. Instead, you took everything. I took what he stole, I said. You took his dignity, she said. And that's harder to recover than money. I looked at her. So what now? Now I go home. To our home. And we try to figure this out. Together. You sure? No, she said. But I love you. And I'm willing to try. I walked over to her. Pulled her into a hug. She held on tight. Like she was afraid to let go. I'm sorry, I said. For hurting you. For not telling you everything. For making this harder than it had to be. I know, she said. I'm sorry too. For making you choose. For not seeing what my dad was doing. For not supporting you sooner. We stood there for a while, holding each other. In the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by everything I'd fought for. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I hadn't lost everything after all. The trial date arrived 6 weeks later, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Emily drove with me to the courthouse. We didn't talk much on the way, just held hands across the center console. David met us outside, briefcase in hand, suit pressed, ready. You ready for this? He asked. Yeah, I said. Let's get it done. We walked inside, through security, up to the 3rd floor. Courtroom C. Elliot was already there, sitting with his lawyer, a guy named Patterson, mid-50s, expensive suit. The kind of lawyer you hire when you're desperate and have nothing left to lose. Elliot didn't look at me when I walked in, just stared straight ahead. His face was gray, hollow, like something had died inside him. Helen was sitting behind him, Emily's mom. She looked over at Emily. Their eyes met. Helen's face crumpled. She looked away. Emily squeezed my hand. This is hard. I know. Promise me something. What? Promise me that no matter what happens today, we're okay. You and me. I looked at her. We're okay. She nodded. Took a breath. The bailiff called the court to order. The judge walked in. Judge Morrison, late 60s, gray hair, no-nonsense expression. Case number 47B, the bailiff said. Cooper versus Donovan. Civil claim for recovery of misappropriated funds. Judge Morrison looked at both tables. Counselors, are we ready to proceed? David stood. Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiff is ready. Patterson stood. Defense is ready, Your Honor. Good. Mr. Brennan, you may present your opening statement. David walked to the center of the room. Calm. Confident. Your Honor, this case is straightforward. The defendant, Elliot Donovan, owned and operated Cooper Industrial Supply for 30 years. During that time, he systematically withdrew funds from the company for personal use, $287,340, over a period of 5 years. These withdrawals were not reported as income. They were not documented as owner's draws. They were hidden as business expenses to avoid taxation and accountability. He walked over to our table, picked up a folder. We have documentation, bank statements, credit card records, a handwritten ledger, written by Mr. Elliot Donovan himself, detailing every expense, travel, entertainment, personal purchases, all charged to the company, all hidden from investors, employees, and even his own family. He set the folder on the judge's bench. The plaintiff, Spencer Cooper, bought the company's debt in good faith to prevent its collapse. When he discovered the extent of Mr. Donovan's theft, he filed this lawsuit to recover the stolen funds, not for personal gain, but to save the company and protect the jobs of 23 employees who depend on it. He looked at Elliot. Mr. Donovan had every opportunity to do the right thing, to admit what he'd done, to pay back what he stole. Instead, he chose to fight, to delay, to accuse the plaintiff of harassment. Your Honor, this isn't harassment. This is justice. He walked back to the table, sat down. Judge Morrison looked at Patterson. Defense? Patterson stood, buttoned his jacket, walked to the center of the room. Your Honor, my client doesn't dispute that he withdrew funds from the company, but those withdrawals were not theft. They were compensation, owner's draws. Mr. Donovan built that company from nothing. He worked 70-hour weeks for 30 years. He earned every dollar he took. David leaned over, whispered, Here we go. Patterson continued. The plaintiff, Mr. Cooper, married into the family, was given a job, was trusted with operations. And when he saw an opportunity, he exploited it. He bought the company's debt without Mr. Donovan's knowledge, foreclosed on a business that didn't belong to him, and now he's using the legal system to finish the job, to take everything my client has left. He pointed at me. Your Honor, this isn't about justice. This is about revenge. Mr. Cooper was fired. He was angry, and he's using this lawsuit to punish a man who gave him everything. David stood. Objection. Your Honor, the defense is making accusations without evidence. Mr. Cooper was fired after Mr. Donovan realized the financial irregularities were about to be exposed. The timeline is clear. Judge Morrison held up a hand. I'll allow it. But Mr. Patterson, stick to the facts. Patterson nodded. The facts are simple. Mr. Donovan ran his company for 30 years. He made decisions, some good, some bad, but they were his decisions to make. Mr. Cooper had no right to seize control, no right to demand restitution, and no right to destroy a man's livelihood over accounting discrepancies. He walked back to his table. We asked the court to dismiss this case and to order Mr. Cooper to return the company to its rightful owner. Judge Morrison looked at David. Mr. Brennan, you may present your evidence. David stood. Your Honor, we call Karen Lyons to the stand. Karen walked to the witness stand, raised her right hand, swore to tell the truth. David approached. Ms. Lyons, can you state your occupation for the record? I'm a certified public accountant. I've been working with Cooper Industrial Supply for 8 years. And you conducted a financial audit of the company at Mr. Cooper's request? Yes. Can you describe your findings? Karen looked at Elliot, then at the judge. I found $287,340 in unauthorized withdrawals. They were listed as business expenses, travel, equipment, consulting fees, but when I cross-referenced the receipts and invoices, I found that none of those expenses were business-related. They were personal, and they were hidden. Hidden how? They were categorized in ways that made them look legitimate, buried in operating costs, mixed in with real vendor payments. It would have been easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. And in your professional opinion, were these legitimate business expenses? No, they were not. David nodded. Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Patterson stood. Ms. Lyons, did Mr. Donovan ever tell you these withdrawals were personal? No. So you're making an assumption. I'm making a professional assessment based on documentation. But Mr. Donovan never told you they were personal expenses. No. But the evidence... Thank you, Ms. Lyons. No further questions. Karen stepped down. David called 2 more witnesses, a vendor who confirmed that several invoices listed in the ledger didn't match any work they'd done, and a bank manager who testified that Elliot had personally cashed checks made out to fake consulting companies. By the time we broke for lunch, it was clear which way the case was going. Emily and I ate in silence at a diner across the street from the courthouse. She picked at her sandwich. Didn't eat much. How are you holding up? I asked. I don't know, she said. Watching my dad sit there, hearing all of this. It's hard. I know. Do you? She looked at me. Do you know what it's like to watch your father be destroyed in public? No, I said. I don't. Then don't pretend you understand, she said. Quiet. Not angry. Just sad. I didn't say anything. Just reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away. The afternoon session started at 1:30. David called me to the stand. I walked up, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. David approached. Mr. Cooper, can you describe your relationship with Elliot Donovan? He was my father-in-law and my employer. And when did you first become aware of financial irregularities at Cooper Industrial Supply? About 2 years ago. I noticed discrepancies in the books, payments that didn't match invoices, loans that were being used for non-business purposes. And what did you do? I started documenting everything. I made copies of records. I built a file. I wanted to understand how deep the problem was before I said anything. And when you discovered the extent of the theft, what did you do? I consulted with a lawyer. I explored options for saving the company. And I made the decision to buy the debt and take control before the business collapsed. David nodded. And why didn't you tell Mr. Donovan what you were doing? Because if I had, he would have fired me. And then I would have lost the ability to save the company. And were you right? I looked at Elliot. Yeah, I was right. David walked back to the table. No further questions. Patterson stood, walked over to me. Mr. Cooper, you claim you bought the debt to save the company, but isn't it true you did it to take control? To punish Mr. Donovan for firing you? No? You're saying there was no personal motivation? I'm saying the motivation was to save the company, not to punish him. But you did punish him, didn't you? You fired him, you sued him. You're trying to take his house. I'm trying to recover what he stole. From your own father-in-law. From a thief. Patterson smirked. So you admit this is personal? No, I said. I admit it's necessary. He stared at me. No further questions. I stepped down, walked back to the table. David leaned over. You did good. Closing arguments were brief. David summarized the evidence, the ledger, the audit, the testimony. Your Honor, the facts are clear. Mr. Donovan stole nearly $300,000 from his own company. The plaintiff is simply asking for restitution, nothing more. Patterson argued that Elliot had built the company and deserved to be compensated, that the withdrawals were justified, that Spencer was motivated by revenge. Judge Morrison listened, took notes, then leaned back in his chair. I'll be honest with both of you, he said. This is one of the clearer cases I've seen. The evidence is overwhelming. Mr. Donovan, I don't know what you were thinking, but you can't steal from your own company and expect no consequences. Elliot looked down. Mr. Cooper, I understand why you did what you did, but I also think you could have handled this differently. You could have approached Mr. Donovan privately, tried to work something out. Instead, you chose the nuclear option. I didn't respond, just listened. That said, the law is clear. Mr. Donovan withdrew funds without proper documentation, without authorization, and without paying taxes. That's embezzlement, plain and simple. He looked at both tables. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff. Mr. Donovan, you are hereby ordered to repay the full amount of $287,340. You have 90 days to make the first payment. If you fail to comply, Mr. Cooper is authorized to seize assets to satisfy the judgment. He banged the gavel. Court is adjourned. Elliot stood, walked out without looking at anyone. Helen followed him, crying. Emily sat there, staring at the table. You won, she said. Yeah. Does it feel good? I thought about it. It feels necessary. She nodded, stood up. I need to go talk to my mom. Okay. She walked out. David put a hand on my shoulder. Congrats, Spencer. You did the right thing. Thanks. But as I stood there watching Emily walk away, I wasn't sure if right and good were the same thing anymore. 2 weeks later, Elliot filed for bankruptcy. He couldn't pay the judgment, didn't have the cash, didn't have the assets. His house went into foreclosure. The cars were repossessed. The boat was seized. He and Helen moved into a small apartment across town. Emily helped them move. I stayed away, gave them space, but I sent a check. $20,000. Enough to cover rent for a year. Emily found out. Called me. Why did you do that? She asked. Because they need help. After everything? Yeah, after everything. She was quiet for a moment. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just take care of them. I will. A month later, the company was officially debt-free. I'd recovered enough from Elliot's assets to pay off the major loans. The rest, I paid down over time. Revenue was up 30%. We hired 6 more people. Opened a second location. Marcus got promoted to operations manager. He earned it. And I finally started sleeping again. One night, Emily and I were sitting on the back porch, drinking beer, watching the sunset. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't done it? She asked. Done what? Bought the debt. Taken the company. All of it. I thought about it. Yeah, sometimes. And I think the company would have collapsed. Your dad would have lost everything anyway. And I would have been blamed for it. She nodded. You're probably right. We sat there for a while. Quiet. Then she said, I'm proud of you. I looked at her. Yeah? Yeah. You did what you had to do. Even when it was hard. Even when it cost you. That takes guts. Or stupidity. She laughed. Maybe both. I put my arm around her. She leaned into me. We're going to be okay, she said. Yeah, I said. We are. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. 6 months later, I was in the office, my office, going through the quarterly reports when Marcus knocked on the door. Boss, you got a minute? I looked up. Yeah. What's up? He walked in, sat down in the chair across from the desk. The same chair Emily had sat in. The same chair I'd sat in 100 times when Elliot ran the place. I just wanted to say thanks, he said. For what? For keeping this place alive. For keeping all of us employed. A lot of guys thought we were done when Elliot left. But you turned it around. I leaned back. We turned it around. You, me, the crew. Everyone put in the work. He nodded. Still, It wouldn't have happened without you. Maybe, I said, but it wouldn't have been worth it without all of you. He stood. Anyway, just wanted you to know. We appreciate it. He walked out. I sat there for a minute, staring at the reports. Revenue was up 42% from last year. We'd hired 10 more people, expanded into 3 new states, opened that second warehouse in Kentucky. The company wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, and it felt good. But it also felt complicated. That night, Emily and I had dinner with her parents. It was the first time we'd all been in the same room since the trial. 6 months of distance, 6 months of awkward phone calls and careful conversations. But Emily had insisted, said it was time. We met at a small Italian place downtown. Nothing fancy, just a quiet corner booth where we could talk without being overheard. Elliot and Helen were already there when we arrived. They looked older, smaller somehow, like the last 6 months had aged them a decade. "Hi, Dad. Hi, Mom," Emily said. She hugged them both. Elliot looked at me, didn't say anything, just nodded. I nodded back. We sat down, ordered food, made small talk about the weather, about Helen's new job at the library, about nothing important. Then, halfway through the meal, Elliot set his fork down. "Spencer," he said, "I need to say something." I looked at him. "Okay." He took a breath. "I was wrong. About a lot of things. About the way I ran the company. About the way I treated you. About everything." I didn't say anything, just listened. "I spent 30 years building that business," he said, "and I thought that meant I could do whatever I wanted with it. Take what I wanted. Spend what I wanted. I convinced myself I'd earned it, that it was mine." He looked down at his plate. "But it wasn't just mine. It belonged to the employees, to the customers, to the community, and I betrayed all of them, including you." Helen reached over, squeezed his hand. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," he said. "I'm just asking you to understand that I know what I did, and I'm sorry." I looked at him for a long time. Then I said, "I appreciate that." He nodded. "How's the company?" "Good. Really good, actually. I heard you opened a second location." "Yeah, Kentucky. It's doing well." He smiled. Small, sad. "I always wanted to expand. Never had the guts to actually do it." "It wasn't guts," I said. "It was necessity. We needed more space, more capacity. So we made it happen." He nodded. "You're a better businessman than I ever was." "I don't know about that." "I do," he said. "You saved that company. I would have destroyed it. And I would have blamed everyone else when it fell apart." Emily looked at me, then at her father. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart, just learning to live with my mistakes." Helen spoke up. "We both are. It's been hard, but we're managing." Emily reached across the table, took her mother's hand. "I'm sorry you're going through this. It's not your fault," Helen said. "It's ours. We made choices, and now we're dealing with the consequences." I looked at Elliot. For what it's worth, I didn't want it to go this way. "I know," he said, "but it was the only way it could go. I see that now." We finished dinner, paid the bill, walked outside. Before we left, Elliot pulled me aside. "Spencer," he said, "I know I have no right to ask this, but take care of her. Take care of Emily. She deserves better than what I gave her." "I will," I said. He nodded. "And take care of the company. It's in good hands. Better hands. Thanks." He shook my hand. Firm. Real. Then he and Helen walked to their car. Emily and I stood there, watching them drive away. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "I think I am." "Me too." A week later, I was at the warehouse early, 5:30 in the morning. The sun wasn't up yet. I walked through the empty building, past the shelves, past the equipment, past the desks. I stopped in the middle of the floor, the same spot where Elliot had fired me. I could still hear his voice. "You're not even good enough to sweep the floor." I reached down, unclipped the badge from my belt, looked at it. Cooper Industrial Supply, Spencer Cooper, owner. I'd fought for this, bled for it, almost lost everything for it, and it was worth it. Not because I'd won, not because I'd taken the company from Elliot, but because I'd saved it. I'd protected the jobs, I'd built something that would last. I clipped the badge back on, walked to the office, turned on the lights, and I got to work. That night, Emily and I were on the back porch again. Same spot, same view, same beer. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Which part?" "All of it. The lawsuit, the company, the way things turned out." I thought about it. "No, I don't. Even though it almost cost us our marriage?" "Even then." She looked at me. "Why not?" "Because I did what I had to do. And you stayed. Even when it was hard. Even when you didn't agree with me. You stayed. She smiled. I'm stubborn like that. Yeah, you are. We sat there for a while. Quiet. Comfortable. Then she said, what would you tell someone who's going through something like this? Someone who's being pushed around by people they thought they could trust? I took a sip of my beer. I'd tell them to document everything. Keep records. Build a case. And when the time comes, don't hesitate. Do what needs to be done. Even if it costs them. Especially if it costs them. Because the things worth fighting for always cost something. She nodded. And what about mercy? About giving people second chances? Mercy's for people who admit what they did, I said. Who take responsibility? Who try to make it right? If they don't do that, then mercy's just another word for letting them get away with it. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You're a complicated man, Spencer Cooper. Yeah, I am. But you're my complicated man. Yeah, I am. A month later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name and the warehouse address. I opened it. Inside was a check, $5,000, made out to Cooper Industrial Supply, and a note, handwritten, short. Spencer, this is the first payment. I don't know if I'll ever be able to pay back everything I took, but I'm going to try. You were right. About all of it. And I'm sorry. Elliot. I stared at the check for a long time. Then I walked into the office, deposited it, applied it to the company's operating account. Not because I needed the money, but because Elliot needed to do this. For himself, for his family, for whatever future he had left. And I wasn't going to take that away from him. That night, I told Emily about the check. She cried. Not sad tears, just relief, like something heavy had finally lifted. He's trying, she said. That's all I wanted, just for him to try. I know. Do you think he'll ever pay it all back? I don't know, I said. But it doesn't matter. The point is, he's trying. That's enough. She hugged me, held on tight. Thank you, she said. For what? For giving him a chance to make it right. Even after everything. He's your father, I said. And he's trying. That's worth something. She pulled back, looked at me. You're a good man, Spencer Cooper. I'm just a man, I said. Trying to do the right thing. That's what makes you good. 6 months after that, the company hit $1 million in annual revenue for the first time. We celebrated with the whole crew. Pizza, beer, a banner that said 1 million strong. Marcus gave a speech, thanked everyone for their hard work, thanked me for believing in the company. I stood up, looked around at all the faces, people who'd stuck with me, who'd trusted me, who'd helped build this. I'm not going to stand here and take credit for this, I said, because this wasn't me. This was all of us. Every single person in this room put in the work, and that's what got us here. I raised my beer. To the crew, to the company, and to the future. Everyone raised their drinks. To the future. We drank, laughed, celebrated, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Later that night, Emily and I were driving home. Windows down, music low, just the sound of the road and the night. You happy? She asked. Yeah, I said. I am. Good. You deserve it. I reached over, took her hand. We both do. She smiled. Yeah, we do. We drove in silence for a while. Then she said, so what's next? What do you mean? For the company, for us. What's the next big thing? I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe we just keep doing what we're doing. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep taking care of the people who depend on us. That sounds good, she said. Yeah, it does. The next morning, I got to the warehouse at 6. Same as always. I walked through the building, checked the inventory, talked to the early crew, reviewed the day's orders. Then I went into the office, sat down at the desk. I pulled out the badge, the same badge I'd set down the day Elliot fired me, the same badge I'd picked up the day I took over. I turned it over in my hand, looked at my name, Spencer Cooper, owner. It wasn't just a title. It was a responsibility, a reminder. Every day I had a choice. I could do the right thing, or I could do the easy thing. And every day, I chose right. Because that's what it means to lead, to fight for what matters, to protect the people who depend on you, even when it costs you, even when it hurts, even when you're not sure if you're going to make it. You do it anyway, because that's what integrity looks like. I clipped the badge back on my belt, opened my laptop, got to work, and I didn't look back. Epilogue. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with me. I know this story isn't easy. It's not a fairy tale. There's no villain who gets what he deserves and rides off into the sunset. It's just real life, complicated, messy, full of choices that don't have clear answers. But here's what I learned. Respect isn't given. It's earned. And if someone doesn't respect you, no amount of trying to please them will change that. Loyalty goes both ways. If someone expects your loyalty but won't give you theirs, that's not a relationship. That's exploitation. Justice isn't always kind. Sometimes doing the right thing means hurting people you care about, and you have to live with that. But mercy has its place too. When someone admits what they did wrong and tries to make it right, you give them that chance. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. And finally, the things worth fighting for always cost something. Your time, your money, your relationships, your peace of mind. But if you don't fight, you lose them anyway. So fight. Document everything. Build your case. And when the time comes, don't hesitate. Do what needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, the only person who has to live with your choices is you. Make sure you can live with them. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. If this story hit home, subscribe and stay around. Sometimes a story like this is all someone needs to feel less alone. My name is Spencer Cooper, and this is what really happened.